I'm David Allen, and this is one of a series of videos explaining the proposals in my new book, which is called The Living Vote. If you've seen previous videos, then you'll know that the parliamentary structure which is proposed in the book consists of 75% of party members and 25% of independents. That transcribes into roughly about 256 party seats and 64 independent seats. Each seat will return 2 members of parliament. So we get pretty much the same number we have now. I think probably 10 less. But a lot of that will depend upon the boundary restructures and whether or not Parliament feel the need to reduce the overall number of members of Parliament. I can see no reason why we need 650 of them. Anyway, 25% will be independent members. So what does independent actually mean? Well, firstly, it means that they have no affiliation to a political party. How do we know that that's the case? Well, the process by which they campaign will give people the opportunity to make their own minds up on this. It's not something anybody else can set. I mean, one of the questions that I was asked initially about it was, who decides who can stand as an independent? I don't see any reason to change the current procedure, and that is anybody who wants to can stand for Parliament. Anybody can stand in the election now, providing they're qualified, which is fairly basic qualifications like you need to be a British citizen, that sort of thing, and not in jail. But pretty much everybody can stand for election if they want to. You have to pay a deposit, which is forfeit if you don't get the support. That's just sensible. It deters frivolous candidates, but obviously it doesn't deter rich frivolous candidates. So we're talking about a group of people who are going to be independent of political parties principally. But their campaigns will be managed and run by the state. They will not be allowed to seek funding. I mean, the funding of political parties is one of the greatest and open corruptions that you could possibly have. They won't be allowed to do it. They will have limited terms, and there are details around the restrictions that will be on the independent members of Parliament. But principally, the campaign will be government-led. It will be government-sponsored. We pay for it, in other words. That's the only way to keep it really independent. And it will be through a website and a series of interviews that will be available for anybody to see. In essence, the independent candidates will have a section of the website devoted to them in their independent constituency. They can tell you what they believe in, what they want to do, all of that sort of thing. In addition to that, they'll compose a video where they'll speak to people, and you can make a judgment about people as, you know, how they speak, whether you think they're sincere. They will also be subject to a forensic interview where they will be asked the questions that they may not wish to address in their own promotional material. So the obvious question is, how do you know they're independent? Are they going to be plants from political parties, designed to be there but really vote for the party? Well, the only people that can decide this are the electors. So that's why the forensic interview is quite important. They will be challenged on this. I mean, I don't preclude people who have been kicked out of political parties or who decide to leave political parties, because they can still act as independents. The people will decide. It isn't right for anybody else to make that decision. The other interesting thing about them is that the rules surrounding them, things like limited terms, not being available to be appointed as ministers, not being able to have second jobs, not being able to move from a position of influence within Parliament to a sponsor or a donor's company as soon as you leave. So it's quite a restrictive role. And principally they're legislators. The constituency MPs, the party MPs, will do the constituency work largely, although it's not precluded for any MP to do that. But our members of parliament are legislators. And we want these people to scrutinise legislation, and we want them to make judgments based on their personal understanding of it, and of course their political views. I mean, independent doesn't mean you don't believe in anything. It means that you're independent of political parties and to a large extent independent of corporate lobbying. Because if you're not allowed to go to lunch with the oil company, then they don't have that opportunity to try and convince you. And in any case, it's pointless, because there will be something in the order of 128 independent members of parliament. Now, when all you have to do is to take a minister out to lunch, or lobby a minister, or lobby somebody who's got the ear of the Prime Minister, that's relatively easy. But it's quite difficult to influence 128 independently minded people. What are you going to do, take them all out to lunch? That's quite bizarre. The bills would be quite big. So these people are shielded to a large extent from the corruptive influences that happen in Parliament now. And it makes it much more difficult for the global organisations that wish to influence our lives to actually get them to do what they want them to do, because there are very powerful organisations in the world, like the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, NATO. There are a number of them, and some very influential individuals that are pushing their own agendas. Now, the environment in which our Parliament works is very mature. It has worked out very easily how to manipulate what is there now. However, by having a quarter of the Parliament as independents changes the rules completely. It means they've got to work out another way to try and get through, to try and lobby, to try and get their own views, their own ideas and their own money to work for them. It's much harder, and it's made harder still because the independents simply won't be allowed to receive money from outside sources. Now, whilst there will be a small cost in their campaign to the state, it's worth it. Their constituency offices will be manned by civil servants. They won't no longer be employing their wives and their daughters to do the work that MPs often do now. It will be independent. Their election process will be much more transparent than it is now for party MPs. I mean, most people don't know anything about their MP. They don't have to. They just vote for a party because they know about the party. But when you're selecting an individual out of perhaps many applicants, then you do need to know who they are, how they sound, whether you think they're sincere, are they plants? All of these will be decided by the elector. The most significant problem in the early stages of such a change is that there won't be enough of a distinction between the applicants, the independent applicants in their campaign. So everything must be done to make sure that there is enough information about them to enable people to form an authoritative opinion on what kind of person they are and what they believe in. Now, we do need people who are capable, who are literate, who are competent, because they're legislators and they're going to have to read a lot of stuff which is quite complex and make decisions. But people generally want to do that. People generally want to be led by people whom they believe are better than them. One reason why I don't think, whilst you have many friends, you wouldn't vote for them to legislate over you, because maybe they don't have the skills to do that. So the competitive campaign will be quite intrusive on these independents to find out who they really are. But the result will be well worthwhile. Now, if you like these videos, if you like the book, if you'd like to see political change, if you like more saying what goes on, then please subscribe to the channel. Please give me a like because that helps, and share the information. I'll be doing other videos in the series on a variety of things, and there are already a number of them there. So you should know pretty much everything about this system, what the book proposes, by reading the book and watching the videos. But I urge people to understand what this really means, because it is the one way we can get meaningful political change. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.